theology is God talk. And therefore, we as black people have only been allowed a space where we reiterate. We have not theologized as ourselves. Because we need to find a space where we are able to say, who is God in the township? Who should we see Jesus as people who are living within these conditions? Who should we see God as? In a space where there's a proliferation of a zinc forest. Like, we should be able to define God within that space as ourselves. And we as black people have never been allowed that opportunity. As a result, we came into a space whereby we're already told what is sound theology and what's this other word? That English word? What is heretic? So what is heretic to some might not be heretic to others. Because there are theologies that maintain privileges. And now, just because of this is not a norm in the theological space, it does not mean that it's not a theology. Black people must be allowed that opportunity to have this particular conversation. And I was reflecting on this thing that through the decolonization of everything, everything has been touched except for the church. You go to every space at every level, everything has been touched, has been shaken, except for the church. And why? Because as a result now, Christianity has become a burden to us in the townships because it has not led us into a space whereby it enables for a possibility of our liberation. And therefore, it's important for us to have this conversation as black people. Because good news, for them to be good news, they have to be good news. You can never tell us a possibility of a good news that are to come in the future. No, it must be good news now. And therefore, black liberation theology comes to bring that possibility. Why are we having other conversations but we refuse to have this particular conversation? And now, just because of this is not a norm in the theological space, it does not mean that it's not a theology. Black people must be allowed that opportunity to have this particular conversation. And I was reflecting on this thing that through the decolonization of everything, everything has been touched except for the church. You go to every space at every level, everything has been touched, has been shaken, except for the church. And why? Why hasn't this conversation of decolonization gone to the church? Why hasn't it taken ground and roots in the church? Because we can never talk about colonization in Africa without talking about the church and the Bible. And therefore, to even ask that question as to why are we having this conversation, we are starting at a very wrong note. So we do need to have this conversation. So we will just ask the professor to help us, just to give us a platform so that we have this conversation that is necessary. Professor Vellem is from AAP. He runs a center for public theology at the University of Pretoria. And when we heard that he was coming at Stellenbosch to talk on the Reformation, 500 years of Reformation, we said, no, why aren't you coming also at Khayelitsha just to have a conversation that belongs to us? Because this 500 years has nothing to do with us. And we need to have this one that has everything to do with us. And you can't talk about black theology in South Africa without seeing Professor. So we are graced and so privileged to have you, Prof.
I saw a similar thing when you go to Port Elizabeth, when you go to, you drive past Craddock, the three guys who were so inspirational during my high school days. When you look at their graves and their monument, it's as if it's 50 years old. And when you are in Pretoria and you look at the Fort Tracker monument, it's as if it was built the day before yesterday. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you very much for welcoming me. Thanks. Because he spoke about heresy. And that's the first thing I will probably have to think about. Some years ago, when I was a new pastor in a congregation, I was disturbed, very disturbed. I'm preaching, and I'm told, because I was told by my lecturers then, that if you shout, it means you are no longer making any sense. You must stick to your script, prepare your prayers, and write them very well so that you have words that are well thought and eloquent when you pray. So in my first congregation, that's what I used to do. I would certainly spend the whole Thursday, Friday, preparing my sermon, even writing prayers. No, I can't say God loved us. I must probably say we are beloved in God's eyes. You're changing, thinking about the syntax and so forth and so on. I am a person who suffers tonsillitis often, so I'm eating something now. It shouldn't disturb you because I can feel that it's about to touch me again because of our weather here. But my congregation usually fell asleep because I was not able to shout even in those days. I would really be a disciplined Calvinist theologian, reading every word carefully. But these people were falling asleep and I was getting a little worried. If these people have their own headaches, perhaps that should be the preoccupation of my theology. And since then, I began to learn the idiom, the parlance, the grammar of the township, the face and the face behind the face of a person you encounter in the township. What is it that they are hiding? What is it that they are preoccupied with on a daily basis? Rather than think about the story, for example, in the Bible and the commentaries, rather than think about how Brutman, how Calvin, how, yes, they are important, but the first thing that preoccupies my theology in the township is the headache of the township. Yes, the headache of the township. So I have decided not to write my speech because I don't want to hear it from you that, oh, this guy, he can't even speak Black theology from his heart. And so I'm going to try to speak from the heart, to talk about faith in what I thought would probably be the cross of Jesus and the location. Just to talk about Black theology today, the cross of Jesus Christ and Ekasi, the location. My phrase was, if you move from Amawoti in Durban, if you come here in Cape Town, if you go to Pretoria, I saw even a little bit of a number of sheds in Newcastle. Newcastle was the cleanest city in South Africa, about the cleanest city a few years ago. But I see on the road an increasing number of what the English people say informal settlements. I call it a zinc forest. The forestation of informal settlements in South Africa. But when you drive on the N1 again, I become troubled, because on the N1 from Cape Town, certainly up to Zimbabwe, on the wayside you will see a small cross. That cross, you drive a few kilometers. On the other side of the road, the cross. People that die in numbers on the road. Crosses that are also becoming a forest on the wayside. And why? And I remember very well that Khayelitsha is among the newest locations. So I just want to talk about that from from my heart, and talk about Ekasi and the cross, in order for us to think about what Black theology is all about. The most important thing to remember, certainly that inspires my thinking about the meaning of the cross on the N1, is this. The N1 is a road that combines gold, diamonds, and copper in Kitwe. If you look at this road, it was following something. From Cape Town, that was a colony, then it is extending to the north, Johannesburg, Gold Reef. Then you move into Pretoria, Zimbabwe, Bulawayo, the basket, the farms in Zimbabwe that must probably nourish the expansion of this road. Kitwe to the borders of the DRC, copper. 1896-97, you can look at the development of cities from Cape Town on the highway, the N1. Now, when you move from Cape Town to the east, you then begin to hear about the story of the movement of a certain people with God's covenant. So you move Grafrenet, Somerset, Port Elizabeth, move into Transkei, and so on. They are now beginning to spread the gospel. Now the first gospel, because good news is gospel, the first gospel that is written as the N1, metaphorically, is developing. The first gospel that is written is the gospel of work. Now, immediately after the arrival of Van Riebeck in South Africa, the colonizer says, we've got to develop the gospel of work. We have got to make them to be like us, to accept, to serve us. So as they move into the hinterland of South Africa, they are spreading the gospel of work. The gospel of work will make them love clothes that we wear, eat food that we eat, perhaps even make them love to look like us. You know, it is a theology that starts lots of troubles and the crosses that I see along the N1. The gospel of work. the acceptance of a black person, Khoisan person, to serve without questioning the master. Why? Because Cape Town itself was not a city built for living together. It was a city designed as a refreshment station for a trade at that time that was developing and certainly led by the Netherlands or Hollanders. So economics and the township and Ekasi, very related. N1, gold, diamonds, copper, kitwe, economics. Mission towards the east, economics. In other words, the gospel, firstly, in our history in South Africa, is the gospel of work. And it's the gospel of work by blacks who must accept to serve without question. This is extremely interesting because when you look at the sicknesses of the acceptance of this condition by many black people in Ekasi, I remember one old man said after 1994, Mfundis, I don't understand how this thing happened. There would be 40 of us men waiting for a young Afrikaner, young man who said, stop, pass, and all of us would be in attention. And he would get into a shop, buy himself cigarettes, and all of us are still waiting for him. We are 40 of men, but we fear only one Afrikaner young person. At that time, this congregant was saying the condition of fear that had become part of our lives. We would even fail to realize that there are big giants among us and only one Afrikaner male who said, stop, and we would stop. The condition of the township, Ekasi. What is Ekasi then? Ekasi is to locate. That's why the first word is location, lokasi. It is to locate. Why? These people must be located here in order for them to serve. They can't be part of the city. The city is for us. They must be located there in order for them to go into the city and in the evening go back to the lokasi where they are located. As long as they have the power and the energy to serve us, we will locate them there. Once their power ceases, once they become weak, they must go home in the Bantu stand. They must go home. That's why, for example, in the township, those of us who grew up in the township would immediately identify a man from Transkei. It's very easy to see that. They struggle with colors. They would be on a bicycle. This bicycle will have something like a trumpet on it because they want to mimic a car. And then some will build this bicycle, they will have a radio on it. And then it will be a kaleidoscope of colors of the body of the bicycle. and then the boots, as they ride on the bicycle. And of course, women will be saying, It's very easy in the township to see a person who's from Lesotho, because we call them Amarashiya. They will come with blankets, even when it is hot, they have blankets on, and indeed, the trademark is the gumboot. It's the gumboot in the township. And then those of us who are born in the township call these people Amagoduka. Have you heard of that? Amagoduka, those who are prone to going home. And Amagoduka are often regarded as people who are just migrant in the township. They are not citizens of the township. They are always about going home. When I was in Stellenbosch, for example, I struggled with a person who would have to go and bury their loved ones in Transkei. And at that time, taking a corpse from Kayamandi was about 3,000 rand. And you also have to fill a load of a minibus with people who are accompanying you to go and bury your loved one, a car at home. And then you develop Tzotzita, the language of the township, Ekasi. Tzotzita. It's a mixture of Afrikaans, too much, very little English there. Because English is for the gentlemen, you see. Abahlekazi. A lot of isiZulu sibheliwe in the township lingua. I remember I was in Cape Town in a train. I was going to UCT, and this guy, I think was from Mitchell's Bay, he takes the Bible in the morning. Dames and heren, examine, jullie roeile bekkies. Het praat van Jesus Christus. But when you look at this guy, the Jesus he's talking about is about like a Jesus who's not very sober. I saw a similar thing at home because our home was on the mines, and this elder comes at home, before he goes to church, and my father had a black bag, and in this black bag he used to keep certain things, certain waters that children would not be allowed to see. But my elder would always go into this bag before he goes to church. And I saw him on this Christmas day. He's kneeling next to my father's bed, and each time he lifts his head, he says to my father, he sings my father's praises, "Oh, sorry, let me go again." And my father says to me, "Hey," because he notices that I'm looking at them, "Why are you not going to watch the sun? The sun is playing." Oh, when Jesus is born, the sun plays. Some kind of these theological heresies, in my upbringing. And then this elder comes to church, he forgets the liturgy of the Calvinists. He sings the hymn that he likes first, even before he prays. Let us sing that to the part. Ekasi. Ekasi has got a lot of things. I mean, I go to a shack one day. I'm going to visit one of my congregants there, and then I hear some noises. Because you see, if this is my space, there is another man's space. And I'm not sure as to whether I did this pastoral visit to a because it was just around 9 o'clock. And then each time I try to pray, I can hear another sound here. And this man is saying, is it called? Adizukala. I will not cry. What's happening? Okay. I'm new in the township, so I must concentrate on what I'm doing. And then, hey, I hear this guy say, well, I become. I'm not crying. And then my congregant says to me, Pastor, if you will, I will also make you cry. That's the township lingo. It's a morass of congestion. A space that locates blacks, colored, Indian, and so on, to create intentionally the perpetual fear and morass that the powerful must display in order for them to be respected. That's the township. The architecture of the township is that a person who lives in a township, a congested space, a morass, a space that does not offer home to others, a space that is always in transitory, a place that does not have permanence, in order to express the power of those who are creating them. So townships are a creation of a powerful order. And in the same way as the power of Rome during Jesus Christ's ministry, the ghetto, the township is meant to express the power, fear, because you must always live in fear when you are in the township. One of my colleagues at UNISA some years ago, we fought because she says to me, you know, I praise God. I drove through this road. I was so frightened. I never prayed like that in my life. Or does the township need to pray? If you are a white person in South Africa, if you are in Harlem, it's exactly designed to express those feelings, those emotions. It's a form of the crucifixion of the people who are powerless. That is a township. It makes a woman to forget that children are there in a shack. It invades the spaces of intimacy. We used to live at home in a four-room house, 14, 15 of us. I never saw my mother kiss my father. Yeah. I tell you the truth. I don't know how they did it. Because the space of intimacy is constantly invaded. There is no other space for the expression of the deepest things that a human being requires. It is Ekasi.
And then you develop the language and the mindset. Even when you walk, you see, if you walk towards the way, you skip the steps. You don't walk in a balanced way. You really, and of course, I mean the girls, even if you speak to the girls, your head, you see your cap that side and so forth, and your head, and of course the shoe is shining there, but at the back of your pocket is an okapi. Violence becomes the culture of a township. It is created exactly so that it becomes a recycling machine, so that you are able to sift the best that you can get for your service as the master and the creator of a township. So a township is a bearer of the cross. We bear the crosses of Jesus in our townships. Every day we are crucified. The township is a Jericho road. That's why N1 up to Kitwe is a place of grace on the other side, because people are going home. In December, people will be going home. They will be dying in numbers. Even people who do not have licenses to drive will want to do some money for their children. Others will pretend to go home. They will not arrive at home. They will come back and go to work and begin to borrow money. That's what they do. In Kayamandi, I was even told that, no, in winter, there must be some fire. Some of the shacks must burn. And I'm saying, why? Because we keep money there. So when you see a lot of money accumulating, you burn it. And then the members of the group will come and ask you, where is our money? Because they have, these schemes. They collect money to bury one another in the township. So the township must burn in order for money to be burned. And then you are able to accumulate a little bit. There must always be some accident in the township. There must always be, it's a tragicomic environment. It is laughable, it is also tragic. That is the township. So what is black consciousness then? What is black theology? How is it good news? How is it, what is good news? What is the response that you give to something bad like that? Now, I'm going to use a metaphor because to quote so and so, you will fall asleep, and I don't like that. I was awakened many years ago. We know corn, isn't it? It is something that is so important in our lives. We plow. You must have land for it. You must also water it for it to grow. But even before you eat it, what do? You peel it. You peel it off, isn't it? You must peel it. Of course, some people will simply cook it and then peel it after cooking it. What do we do out of this? A lot of things. Some of our children today don't even know that popcorns come from there. Now, let's use the image. You peel until you get to the thing that you want to eat. Something that's going to nourish. Something that is going to make your body, or something that is going to energize. That is black consciousness. That you want to peel off something that makes you not reach that which is important for you to be nourished, for you to live. Because the crucifixion of a township is made up of layers and layers and layers that make life to be far away from the people who are in the township. They call themselves survivors. And indeed, to survive in a township is a terrible thing. Before you leave your dignity in a township, you must survive. I have seen how it is difficult for women in Tabombeki village to go to work because there is no electricity. In a village of informal settlements that is just on the other side of the main street in Joburg, where there are powerful lights towards the direction of the airport. On the other side, no electricity. These women have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work. But there are guys who are waiting for them. There is no water in this settlement. You can imagine the smell. You have to cook here, but you are also using a toilet pit in a space of is such that as you strive to survive, strive for survival, struggle for survival, you ultimately lose it. And you accept that this is a condition God created for me. And then when you go to church, you expect a message that is going to say to you, if you hold on to the cross of Jesus, not here, but in heaven. Hallelujah, Jesus. Then you will inherit eternal life. The messaging in the township is deliberately keeping your eyes or your corn without being peeled off. So black consciousness is good news because it attempts to take off these layers. Rape is not life. Patriarchy is not life. Racism is not life. You peel them off. Even the place that you are living in is not destined or created by God. God loves you. Stand up and be in charge of your life. That's why it is good news. Now, it is a problem because you must remember that these layers are constantly created every day. Some people, I remember in Queenstown, they were told, look, go to another place because this one is a place that the municipality designated for this project. And they refused to go. In Carltonville, those who know the reef, certain places around there are too dangerous even to settle informally or even temporarily, because there's always a quake in Carltonville. And then you go to these people, you say to them, look, the land on which you are building is dangerous. They will refuse because they are in the struggle. To romanticize the life of a township is another layer. Don't love the township to the point where you fail to love yourself. There's nothing romantic about the township. The township is created to crucify. Land is a gift from God for us to enjoy, and to enjoy with dignity. So in a nutshell, with those few points, I want you to understand that it is very difficult to talk about township, to talk about the lives of the people who are in the informal settlements, without also thinking about how we build our new South Africa. People are living in islands, others are congested in one place. And then, out of that congestion, it is as if there is fire all the time. Fire all the time to burn these bodies. And to have those that can survive to come out in order for them to go to work. There will never be something without Alexandra. There will never be Khayelitsha without Cape Town. There will never be Mitchell's Plain without Cape Town. There's never Pretoria without Mamelodi. Mamelodi keeps Pretoria alive. Alexandra keeps Sandton alive. Sandton, 4 years ago, was the 4th richest place in Africa. Sandton, not country, Sandton. There will never be Sandton without Alexandra. That is the cross I see when I travel from Cape Town to Kitwe. The buried bodies of women, young and old, on the wayside. When the highway of prosperity, the highway of wealth, the highway of gold, pearls, is enjoyed by a few. Good news, peel off the things, the layers, and know, as the gospel of Jesus Christ teaches us. The good news is proclaimed to those who are on the wayside. The shepherds, people who are sleeping. Have you seen a shepherd? People who are the riffraff of society. In the gospel according to St. Luke, it is said, do not be afraid. In Bethlehem, a son of God is to be born. Good news will spread among you. It is the Bible. It is not ideology. Black theology is not ideology. It is the Bible that says Jesus Christ takes sides with the stinking, the riffraff of society. It is in the Bible. It is not something that we create. It is not something that we think it makes ideological sense. In the world today, 80% of the wealth is enjoyed by only 20% of the total global population of the world. 6% of the total wealth of the world is enjoyed by 80% of the global population of the world. 1% in the world, 1% of the population of the world are enjoying 99% of the wealth. The highway of wealth, on the wayside, the crucifixion of the bodies that are located to serve the master. Peel off, take off the masks and see Stand up. Jesus loves you. I love Ekasi. I will never romanticize Ekasi. It's no longer a safe place. Fight for space to be increased in the township. Jesus will be on your side. Increase space, certain things that bedevil the life of a township will be. Do never ever get used to the township. Because once you get used to it, the condition might be permanent. Thank you.